lot to discuss. Estelle Herndon is here, Ellie Honig, Essie Cupp, Alice Stewart. Good to see all of you. Compelling testimony today. I certainly think so. Essie, I want to get your take on this and everybody's take really, but I'm going to start with you first. You have the integrity of Rusty Bowers. You have Shay and her mom, Lady Ruby, which is trending on social media today, and every right. If you're going to pay attention to something on social media, it should be stuff like that, but refusing to be pulled into this scheme.
Yeah. I got to be honest, I had kind of forgotten what it sounded like when principled conservative Republicans put their convictions ahead of Trump. We hear it from time to time. We hear it from Liz Cheney. Hear it from folks like Adam Kinzinger. But you don't hear it all that often. And I was reminded that these election officials, the Secretary of State, that you didn't know about until January 6th and everything that happened, everything they did to prevent worse. I am grateful for those people, and it gives me some sense of hope that there are more out there like them, because they want to try it again. Trump and Republicans want to keep trying to break our democracy, and they're going to vote for secretaries of state who want to keep breaking our elections and weakening the integrity of them. So these are the people we need more of, and I hope there are more of them.
And you said you hadn't heard it in a while, but I think we also need to be reminded of it. We need to remind our audience too that you are a Republican.
Well, yes, I'm a conservative, and I felt like an orphan and very alone in, thinking what Trump was doing was awful, and not conservative, by the way, not at all conservative. And so to hear two conservatives who I know wanted Trump to be president, who are, conservative to their core, say, I wouldn't do this. You just haven't heard a lot of that conviction over the past 5 years.
And we saw a lot of really emotional, compelling testimony, if you want to call it that, today. And we did hear from professional vote scammers. We did hear from them. It wasn't Shay Moss, it wasn't Lady Ruby, it wasn't Brad Raffensperger, it wasn't Bowers. We heard from professional vote scammers. This was the former President Trump and Rudy Giuliani, people involved in surreptitious, questionable activity. And it wasn't the four people I named. It is the former president and Rudy Giuliani. You look at Shay Moss. She was not a professional speaker. She was nervous. She did not want to be there. And she gave such compelling testimony about how she loved her job. She loved going to work. She loved helping older people vote. She loved giving out. She would drive
to give older people their absentee ballots, like in the hospital.
She loved giving out her business cards so they could call her and ask information. That's what our election system is filled with. People like her across the country that make sure that our elections are free and fair. I was Deputy Secretary of State in Arkansas. We had people in our elections division just like her that woke up every day doing their constitutional duty to execute free and fair elections. And it's a darn shame that she was chased out of her job because of someone who was so obsessed with trying to win an election that was clearly lost. And it's a shame.
I know you're a lady, but it's after 10 o'clock. You can say it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. It is a damn shame. I'll say it for you. But Ellie, you said that we got a glimpse into this is a coup attempt, right? The strategy behind this coup attempt: fake it and then hope it works.
Yeah. Look, I know that there's a certain population of people out there who will never believe the truth, never want to see the truth, who will cling to conspiracy theories. But I do think these hearings matter in a big way because we now know the truth. I don't think there's any serious person who can seriously question, who can seriously argue there was meaningful election fraud in 2020. I mean, how can you watch these hearings and possibly argue that with a straight face? So I do think it's advancing the cause of truth here. And they ripped the veil right off of the strategy today. We heard from insiders that what they would do is make it up, throw it out there, hope it gets echoed in social media or wherever until it just sort of blends in and gets some air of authority. It's bogus, and it's the way that myths are made.
Can we talk about this fake election scheme? Because that was really, I think, the big news today, because we sort of got an inside glimpse of that. Pushing this fake election scheme, Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. CNN caught up with Senator Johnson today. He acknowledges that he was aware his chief of staff reached out to the Pence office to try to deliver the slate of electors, but contends that he has no idea who was behind it and had no involvement. Watch this, and then we'll get to you, Estelle.
Why was he even asking for that? because somebody delivered this to our office and asked to deliver that to the vice president.
Did you support his efforts to try to get those slates to the vice president?
No, I had no knowledge of this.
Who's the person that delivered?
I had no involvement in an ultimate slate of electors. I had no idea this thing would be delivered to us. Got delivered staff to staff. My chief staff did the right thing. Contacted the vice president's staff. They said didn't want it, so we didn't deliver it.
Who's the person?
Again, that's the end of the story.
Who's the person that delivered it to your office?
I have no idea.
How's this look?
I mean, it belies every step of belief here. We're talking about the chief of staff to the senator. This is not something that is like that even invokes, a credulous response. I think what the importance of today's hearing was expanding it out of just January 6th, right? I think we got an idea of just how many levels there were to a real concerted effort from this administration to subvert democracy at every step, right? To pressure state election to pressure state legislators, to pressure election workers through conspiracy, and then January 6th is a culmination of that, with violence coming to the
This was fraudulent. These were not real electors. This is fake.
Absolutely. I am saying that we know, to Ellie's point about facts, right? Journalists talk about having a first draft of history. I think this is a real place where these hearings are doing a kind of journalistic service, too. There's no question here of evidence or facts, right? These are not things that are really disputed, even by the other side, right? They have not brought and said, this isn't true. That these are the response you get from the senator there is just one of throwing their hands up. They're not even contesting it on the level of fact, because we know here that every piece of evidence tells us that the president and all those around him did not care at all about not the basic tenets of democracy, the basic will of the American voters, and even more so than that, we're actively working to subvert both of those.
As they would say in a court of law, this defies credulity, I think. Is that right? Is that a right term?
And let me add to that. As a juror, you have the right to reject someone's testimony. You have the right to say, that's not true. We can use our common sense. I think we should use it in evaluating these hearings.
And as Bill Barr would say, this is BS.
All right. Stick around. We got a lot more to talk about, everyone.